Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing? Yeah, and Connie. Hi, Connie. Nice to see you here.
Pretty good, hey.
Yeah, and Ishtar and Brian's iPad. I'm not sure who Brian is, but he's been here before. So welcome, all of you. And we have another meetup today, and I normally open up by asking questions and finding out everyone's going. So let's do that quickly and find out how people are doing.
Where is it? Have you got it Zoom on there?
Yeah. Connie, how about you starting off? How are you doing?
Well, I mean, obviously, we've had quite a week here with a lot of the shootings and everything. So that brings a lot of things up for people.
Yeah.
Did you have a comment about that?
About what? Sorry.
About what's going on over here right now.
Going on in?
With the mass shootings here.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, maybe I'm not sure what you asked me. What did you ask me?
Yeah. So you want to know what's going on in?
We're still on audio only, aren't we?
Pardon?
We're still on audio only.
Oh, how do we get on
I
to?
don't know.
Ah,
Someone's coming through. Connie, go ahead.
Well, we're just talking about, I know there's been a lot theories and fear and anger going on with with all of the mass shootings that are happening here in the U.S. right now that just happened, and how politically and.
So you asking about the exopolitics on the planet and
Yes.
what's happening on the 3D Earth?
Right.
Well, every time I speak to my higher self, I ask him how's things going. He says everything's going according to plan. So what this means is that, I was told in 2014 that there were several plans. Okay, there was Plan A. It's like a flow chart. So you start here and you see what the result of this energy is, and then depending on what the result is, you go change the energy. So it's a multi-dimensional and multi-frequency approach to the whole kind of problems here. But at the moment, people are getting impatient because they want to see stuff happening and arrests happening and so on. But they don't understand that behind all of that, there's a lot of energy that is happening.
to come up.
And
How do we get on?
And so from our higher selves, they're dealing with the energetic stuff. And the energetic stuff changes the shape and the nature of the physical reality. Okay, but we're working together with them because they charged us in 2014 to raise our own frequencies and to do certain things. And we're doing them, like getting rid of the on-planet fallen one. So, that's an ongoing mission we have, and we've seen it happen. But on the other side, it's a lot of exopolitics going on. If I can just say it, so it's very complex. If I went into that, I'd be here all night. So, but just know that everything's working according to plan. It's going according to plan. Everything is as it should be. And as we've seen over the month.
No, it's what's going on.
Sorry, say again?
So, I mean, the things that are going on here in the U.S. right now with the politics and the mass shootings. I mean, is that part of this? What needs to happen, or is that derailing the plan? It's hard to see. It's hard to see a positive aspect of that.
Yeah, we should understand that many of the beings on the planet who are in very high positions of politics and business influence and, in key roles on this planet are, they're not human, to be frank with you. So they don't have the same sense of compassion and love and caring. To them, those things don't matter. All that matters to them is power and how they retain power, because they feed off the power that any humans are producing. So all that matters to them is to keep humans in a state of trauma and a state of fear and a state of uncertainty that they can feed off. So that's what they're doing, and as they're being attacked and rounded up, and it's really like a web. They're all interconnected and they all are working together, So it's very difficult to say. But having said that, our soul family is the Guardian Alliance, which is an alliance of many other galactic councils, are working together with certain leaders on this planet. Well, they want to work with all the leaders on the planet, but there's some leaders who won't cooperate. And so they've been compromised. So they're taking them out one by one, As we see in many parts of Europe, the leadership structures in Italy has changed radically in the last 2 years. In fact, only the last year. Salvini's only been there for a year. And he's making radical changes to the politics of not only Italy, but the rest of Europe as well. And if you take each country one by one, Hungary declared sovereignty, they've broken away from the globalist factions. There's groups in Sweden, Norway, in France, Yellow Vest movement. There's groups all over the world who are saying enough's enough. We don't want this globalist agenda. And the globalist agenda is the basic precept of globalist agenda is to control humanity, from a central point, so that they can manipulate humanity as they want to. It's a hell of a battle going on, so that's why we have to be very wise and patient, and exercise our own authority over our sovereign selves, because that feeds into the energy grids, and it strengthens the overall energy of the planet to hold it intact, to defeat the agenda of the globalists. But there's a vast network of satanic beings here on this planet who practice, diabolical kind of practices that are ancient, mystical rites that they use, to conjure up negative energy on this planet. So we have to be pretty wise in dealing with it. Don't forget that we have gained control, and we are gaining control of it. And it might be difficult for you to understand that, but if you look at what was happening 3 years ago and see the changes that have taken place, the rapid changes that have taken place in the last 3 years, you can understand that if we look back and then project that into now, you see there's a massive change in consciousness on this planet. Yeah. So everything's good, everything's working, everything's going to be the way it's supposed to be, and we're on the right path.
Yeah, I can see that. So what I can sense is that actually the way I'm moving forward is bottom up, and just to bring that into connection with the collective field gives me actually access to all the information. So the personal story becomes actually a collective story. So yeah, what you shared is just so resonating.
Yeah.
It's exactly, and to be patient in that moment and sitting it out, that's for me the biggest deal and also the opportunity.
Yeah, because we have this kind of collective consciousness of separation from each other and separation from everything else that we experience around us, but we don't understand that that is a lie. We're not separated from each other, and we're not separated from the universe. We're not separated from the earth. We're not separated from the animals, the plants, the trees, everything. We're all part of one consciousness.
Sure.
But we have individuated expression of that consciousness. And as we exercise that individuated expression of consciousness, that goes out into the rest of the planet, and to everyone else around the planet. And that's how the oneness works. Everything is this one expression of the one soul, but with individuated expressions. And as those individuated expressions take responsibility for generating the energy that they have control over in their soul bodies, they can influence everything else around them. And that's how we change the system here. It's not just the top-down system. There are no saviors out there. The Guardian Alliance are not going to save us. They are here to help us save ourselves. Yeah, and they've given us the knowledge and power on how to do that. So we just have to be, we have to be wise in this and understand the fractal nature of the universe, as above, so below, because they are doing what they can do off planet in terms of their energy work and to assist the planet energetically. But we have to also do the work so that it becomes a top down and a bottom up. So we meet them.
That's the point. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Anybody else have something you want to talk about?
You had a question.
Hi, Sarah. Hi.
Hello, Colin. Hello, lovely to see you.
You had a question.
Yeah, long time no see.
What was the name?
Hi, Sue. What I wanted to say on that was, I don't understand the end game. If we're all individuated expressions of the same consciousness, how I've seen that, or how it's been shown to me, is a torus with diamond grid, the energy going up the side, coming down the middle, and then starting again, going up the sides and down the middle. Now, I could see myself making progress until my little diamond disappeared right back down the funnel again. So if that's a continuous, and we all have our own soul path, then fighting against the actions of a Boris Johnson or a Donald Trump or the Brazilian government or whatever, whoever it is pointless, because that's their sole path. And if I have a right to ascend, they have a right to descend. So doesn't that mean that every time we've made one of these huge circles, the Guardian Alliance is going to have to step in again, because we'll be in exactly the same place 26,000 or however many years in a yuga. We'll be back down at this low 3D level again, because that's where people's consciousness lead them.
Yeah.
We're always in that cycle.
Yeah.
So how do we ever escape it? Or is that all part of the reincarnation matrix?
Yeah, because what you described is the state of human consciousness, and that everything is separate. We can't see that we are creating the Donald Trumps and the Boris Johnsons. Okay, in the hologram. We are the ones creating that.
Well, I think I've been Donald.
Sorry, say again?
I will have been a Hitler. I will have been this creature. I have been Donald Trump possibly at some time. I have been Hitler at some time. We've all played those roles in that continuing loop.
Yeah.
It's just someone else's turn to be it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not about staying in that loop. It's for really creating or looking for the gap. So what I'm especially doing in my life since about 3 years now, and really coming to a really hot phase, it is you stay actually in the same frequency. You just turn it upside down or topside down. So it means for me to look for the gap in the same energy and react in another way around. Because as long as we are feeding the spiral of taking in, taking out, creating, fighting, not fighting, it's always a response. So it's really about looking for the gap and going into a completely other response. And that's for me just happening because of doing the bottom up work completely. So the more I'm actually going into the personal journey of bottom up and clearing my space of shame, guilt, conditioning, and yeah, the more I'm able to see the gap, what was not possible to see before. Yeah. And so that's what I mean. I'm not sure if you can follow me.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Yeah. What I wanted to do tonight, I've been talking a bit about healing this past couple of days on my Facebook page, and I've also been speaking about emotional wellness. And I just wondered if you guys would like to hear my journey into how I achieved emotional wellness.
Sure.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it all started when I was waking up in about 2003. And I was having contact with my higher selves. And then one evening, my higher self said to me, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm fine." He said, "But how are you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling fine." He said, "But what are you feeling?" I said, "Well, I don't know." "What do you mean, what am I feeling?" He said, "Do you feel right now?" And I thought, no, because I'm a head person. I think things. I don't feel things. That's the way I was in those days. I don't feel things. I just intellectualize them, that's been my conditioning here. And then he said, maybe you need to clear out that conditioning and start beginning to feel again. So I said, well, how do I begin to feel again? Because, I could clearly recognize that my emotions were hidden. I kept my emotions down there, and I was living in the space of head, of intellect, of, mind. And so I went into this journey where I created a list, a spreadsheet, like I've given to a lot of people this week, where I listed as many emotions as I could, you know. And I researched down different emotions, and I went through each emotion. And I said, how many times have I felt this emotion in my life? And I began to identify the emotions that I feel and the emotions that I haven't felt. Okay. And when I completed that list, because there were over 100 emotions that I identified, and I could clearly see that I did a sort in them, and there was about 2/3 of my emotions that I'd felt, but there was 1/3 of emotions I'd never felt. I had no idea what those emotions were. And then that made me aware that I was emotionally incompetent. And so this kind of grabbed me, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. I thought I was a very competent person. You know, I'd been a top banker. I'd been, you know, traveling all around the world. I've done everything, but I'm emotionally incompetent. I was a bit of a shock, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
It was a big shock because, you know, I didn't understand emotions. So I went through that list one by one and began to try to feel what that emotion felt like.
But how did that work out? I mean, how could you teach yourself that actually? Because for me, I need to have embodied experience to actually recognize how it feels like. So in some levels, I'm really feeling incompetent. So yeah, and how can I teach myself actually a body sensation without having a reference point? I mean, that's the point when life is hitting you.
Yeah, but if you do that, you begin to realize that you can feel whatever you wish to feel. Now, what has happened here, because I was, because after this experience of the spreadsheet, I went back to my higher self and I said, you know, okay, I recognize I'm emotionally incompetent, but can you tell me why I'm emotionally incompetent? And he said to me, when you were born here, you were fearless. I said, what do you mean, fearless? He said, you had to be fearless to go down, you know, from your mother's womb through a uterus to come into a space where you suddenly were, you know, exposed to air and breath and lights and sounds around you. You had to be extremely fearless to do that, and courageous and faithful, and, you know, and I thought, wow, you know, wow. I'm at my core, to be born here was fearless, courageous, a warrior. I was going into the unknown, taking that journey. You know, so I gave myself credit for that. And then as I began to work through that space, I actually regressed myself from the age of 7 down to the age of, till I could actually remember being born. And as I regressed myself through that, I began to recognize what I was like as a child. And as a child, I had no prejudice. I had no inhibitions. I could run around naked and, you know, throw my hands in the air, and it didn't matter. I could express joy. You know, so I began to become aware of my God consciousness. And your God consciousness is your original state when you arrive here. That is your God consciousness. And if you begin to realize that when you were a young child, that was your original self, then what happens over time, that original self becomes conditioned. It gets educated, it gets conditioned through family, it begins to learn from parents, begins to learn from siblings, begins to learn, and suddenly that innocent child gets indoctrinated into a conditioned state. So they're no longer their original selves. And that's what my higher self came to teach me, is go back to your child, because that is your authentic self. So I did this journey back into my childhood. And I began to remember incidences as a child, like when I was 5 years old, my cat had kittens on my bed. I didn't know. I was actually watching her having given birth to kittens on the edge of my bed. And I thought, oh my God, what's happening? Ma! Call my mother, what's going on here? And all those incidents. And I realized that in that original state, there was no fear. There was ignorance. I realized that I didn't fit into this world in that sense, that I didn't know what was happening to me, because I'd never been taught. But that may be a good thing or a bad thing, depends on how I looked at it. But, I regress into try to remember as much of the detail of what I remember when I was a child, and my mother took me to church for the first time. We were Catholics, and as I walked into the church, I saw this big cross over the altar, and there was this man hanging on the cross, and I grabbed my mother's skirt and I hid behind her and said, oh my God, if that's what they do to people in this church, I don't want to be part of this church. I was afraid because they had this figure of a man hanging on a cross. That's crazy.
Oh, I actually never have been aware of that. Holy moly, yes.
Yeah, and I remember times when I was a kid and I would poke my finger into the fish pond. Our town hall had a fish pond with goldfish, and I would poke my finger into the fish pond and feel the water and see the fish come swimming towards the water, and I'd be so excited because the fish were coming I thought they were going to eat my finger, but all they were doing was reacting to the refraction of the light in the water. And I remember all those little things about feeling joy, feeling happy and feeling peaceful and feeling content, and without worry. I as a young child, I didn't worry. Worry is something we learn. It's a conditioned response. We're taught to worry. We're taught to fear. We're taught to be anxious. We're taught to feel inadequate.
Yes, and to suffer. That's also conditioned.
Yeah. So all these things become conditioned within us. So I went back to my spreadsheet and I said, which of these emotions do I feel regularly? And yes, no, and I evaluated them in terms of numerics, so that yes, I feel them regularly, but I feel them like 1 to 9 very regularly. And so I sorted that column out, and I found by sorting that column that there were certain emotions running through my body that were continuous emotions. They were habitual emotions. So I had a habit of feeling certain emotions. And it was very difficult for me at that stage to figure out why. But when I look back on that, those emotions were the emotions that my parents were running most of the time. So I'd learned my emotional habits from my parents. They weren't my emotions. They were habitual emotions that I'd been taught and conditioned to feel. And so when I began to sort those out and say, now, how can I change those emotions? What other options are there available? And then if you look through the spreadsheet, there are over 100 emotions, and you can choose from any one of them. It's a smorgasbord of emotion. So you can decide, well, hang on, I'm in a habit, I'm in a loop of emotional incompetence, okay? And I have to reverse that. Now, how do I do that? Go back and look at that list of emotions and say, yes, that's the emotion I want to feel. That's the emotion that I want to feel. These emotions, and then you could sort those out. Say, these are the emotions I want to feel. And so you can change your habits so that you become aware of the emotion that you're feeling and change the habit of having that emotion. Because it's a very sad reflection on humanity that they don't actually feel their emotions. I got a message, my internet's unstable, it seems okay now. So going through that list and actually feeling your emotions. And the wonderful thing is you can then begin to group emotions. So like you can feel content, peaceful, adequate, I feel joyful, I feel kindness, I feel compassion, and you can group them together and say, let me go out and go feel those emotions out there today. Let me express those emotions to other people. And so I go out to other people and I see somebody begging in the street and I sit down next to him and I start talking to him and say, how are you? Yeah, you doing okay? Yeah, okay. And so I'm expressing that emotion in a concrete way. So we begin to not only feel the emotion, we begin to express it in a concrete way, in a physical way. So we begin to change the words we use and the actions we take to support the emotions we want to feel. Now, I'll tell you how this works in the energy body, because I only learned this afterwards from my higher selves, who said, your emotions are your carrier wave. So in our holographic reality, we send out two waves. The one is our thoughts, intentions, imaginations, our fantasies, our desires, they all go out there into the universe. But if our emotions are the carrier wave that carry that thought, because the shape of magnetic energy, it's round. So when that emotion goes out, it goes out in 360 degrees, whereas thoughts are omnidirectional, so they only go in one direction. So the emotions carry the wave of thought. Now, when you have two waves that are coherent with each other, what they do is they multiply, they get bigger. We've seen this in nature. I mean, when you have a tsunami, for instance, it's that wave coming in and the wave coming from the shore. And when the two meet, they get much bigger. And that creates a tsunami. Now, in the same way, we're now, not necessarily in the same way, but if you can hold that idea that if your emotional body can support your thoughts and intentions and imagination, it creates a much bigger wave. Now, what happens to most humans, and I could see that many times in my life, that I would think one thing and then feel another thing. And what that does is when you have two waves coming together and the bottom of the wave hits the top of the other wave, they collapse the wave. So what we do energetically is collapse the wave. So our thoughts go out there, but our emotions are collapsing the wave. So we've become incapable of manifesting the experiences we want to experience because we're having conflicting and incoherent waves. And that's how it works energetically. But if you try it, you actually watch yourself, you see what emotions you're feeling and what you're thinking. If they're not in coherence with each other, the one's going to collapse the other one. And by collapse, they flatline. When they flatline, there is no more emotion, there's no more thought. And that's what happens to people. They stop feeling because they collapse their emotions all the time, and eventually they get to a stage where they just flatline. They're incapable of feeling their emotions, and that's what happened to me. I was thinking my emotions. I wasn't feeling them. So it's very important to go through that emotion and get back all those feelings, you know. What does it mean to feel a debt? What does it mean to feel, you know, there's some very vague emotions that, you know, we could feel that. Let me take you through some of them. I'm just going to share my screen now with you. Let's look at these emotions. Admiration. Have you ever felt admiration? Do you know what admiration is?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever felt accepting? Do you know what accepting is? Have you ever felt affected?
Yeah.
Have you ever felt afraid? Have you ever felt aggrieved? Have you ever felt amazed? Have you ever felt angry? You know, so I went through each of those emotions, you know, comfortable, controlled, and said, well, what does that feel like to feel like that? Because once you begin to understand that each of those emotions is an energy that is designed to support a thought or an intention or an imagination or an idea. So if you're feeling negative emotions and you're thinking positive thoughts, what you're doing is you're self-sabotaging. And that's what happens, you know.
Yo. Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I actually was speaking to myself. It's so interesting because I'm back in Germany now around 2 weeks, and it's so difficult to tune in, and now I understand it because it's so you can say it's faked. Everything what the people actually express has another context energetically, and so the people actually, some people starting to chat with me and I'm feeling attacked and thinking what's going on. I mean, thank you, Colin. Hey, that's really brings some light into the darkness.
Yeah, because what we're doing as we take control of our energetic fields, we move that into the environment around us, the other people, because we're a collective, one soul collective. So we raise the frequencies of the other soul beings around us, but we also feed that energy into the earth, and that feeds this information into the earth's grids. And the Earth's grids carry this information through the Earth's ley lines, so it goes all around the planet. And that's how human beings can raise the consciousness of this planet, is by establishing their own sovereignty, by being authentic, by being integritous. So we establish an integrity, and integrity is just a resonance. It's like when you have a tuning fork, bang, it gives you the same resonance all the time. And when we can get to that stage where we are resonating with that same energy, that is the frequency that is unique to us in our soul body. Because in the universe, people don't have names. But in the universe, everything, every soul has a unique soul resonance. There's no other being in the universe like you that has the same soul resonance. So when you resonate in the integrity with yourself, you are identifying yourself and who you are and what you are in the universe. And so the universe can say, oh yeah, I remember you. The waves come through and the waves go out. But if you, in a state of confusion, you're not being integritous, you're not being authentic, the waves just wash through you and they don't have any effect. So if you want to establish connection with the universe, you have to establish your own sovereignty over your own soul energy body. And one of the things we have to do in order to do that is to establish sovereignty over our emotional bodies. And we have to take back control of who we really are at the emotional level. Because emotions are energy. People say, well, you know, what do you mean they're energy? When you go for an ECG or lie detector test, they put little pads on your body, and what they're measuring the waves of energy coming off your body. And what are those waves? Those waves are emotions. So our emotions are measurable. They're not just some, you know, hocus pocus stuff. They are measurable and they're quantifiable, and they have a certain resonance, you know, and they can be viewed, they can be seen, but we just don't understand that, you know, because all this stuff's been hidden from us. And our souls have are a great energy body, and we need to establish the integrity of our souls and authenticity of our souls. And that's the way to do it. It's one of the ways, you know. The other thing is, you know, if you've attended my courses, I'd speak about your thoughts, your emotions, your words, your actions, your values, your standards, and your attitudes. And those all create energy. And the energy create different timelines of potential, probability, and possibility. And we can control that by understanding how it works. Yeah. So Sarah Jane, you've written, so Colin, doesn't an emotion have a frequency? Does a group of similar emotions fit into a particular bandwidth of the color spectrum? And if you resonate with a particular group of emotions, are you prey to a particular illness or condition? If so, how do you correct this once you're ill? Well, like I've been posting on my Facebook page about health. Health is determined from within. You know, you can control that your physical body's health through your energy body and your soul, because as above, so below. So as you create the energy within your soul body, you change the frequency of your physical body. Now, how does that work? Well, it works at different levels. First of all, at the quantum level. You know, what are quanta? Quanta just physical expressions of waves of energy. And then quanta create morphogenetic fields that are highly ionized fields of energy that almost create a plasma field, which we call a morphogenetic body. The morphogenetic body begins to spin and creates atoms. and then the atoms begin to vibrate highly because they're spinning so fast, and they create molecules. And the molecules begin to break up into different components, and they, like protein, for instance, and amino acids, and they create cellular structures. So we all those things all at the same time. We cells, yeah, we can see the cells, but we also molecules. We have molecules going around our bodies all at the same time. And the molecules come from our chemistry. And where did the chemistry come from? It comes from the morphogenetic field. And where does that come from? It comes from the quantum field. And where does the quantum field come from? It comes from the wave field. So the wave field, which what our thoughts and emotions are, they're just waves of energy. The waves can control our physical bodies through all those structures of the morphogenetic field, the chemical field, the molecular field, and the cellular field. And they can change that. And that's how we've been changed now. Through the raising of the frequency of the planet, our DNA has been changed. Now our DNA exists at the molecular level because it contains the blueprint for our physical bodies and for our soul bodies. The junk DNA carries the blueprint for our soul bodies, and the genetic DNA carries the blueprint for our genetic bodies. Our genealogy. So at the wave level, we can control what's going on in the physical, cellular level. And it's just sending the waves through that structure and up into through the morphogenetic field, and it's changing the morphogenetic field, it's changing the chemical structure, it's changing the molecular structure, and it changes the cellular structure. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's how it works. I don't know if that answers your question, Sarah Jane, but it sounds complex, but we have to understand we live in a holistic universe where everything is connected to everything else. And we've tended to think of information in a compartmentalized way. So we don't connect all the different levels of reality as being one. We tend to see them separately. So we see our physical bodies in this realm, but we don't connect it to our wave field bodies. Our consciousness are just waves of energy, and that's our soul body. And we can control that. We can take back control of our physical bodies. And, I've done this since before I woke up. I had regular bouts of depression. I had regular bouts of sickness. I had regular bouts of confusion, wanting to commit suicide, thinking, oh my God, what the hell am I doing in this place? I don't like it here. I just want to go. That was where I was at that stage in my life. And once I began to learn how to take back control of my reality, I haven't been sick since 2003. I don't get headaches, I don't get earache, don't get toothache, don't get any of the aches and pains. I've got arthritis in my fingers, but that's for a particular reason. Because I used to be a musician and spent too much time playing my guitar, so said, well, got to stop you playing the guitar so you can pay more attention to other things. But I know I could heal that very quickly. It's just a hologram. My fingers are just a hologram, so I can change it. Remember the scratches last week I had? They're just about gone, But all I have now is scabs. Healing is not that difficult. But we just have to understand the structure of how it works and creating the resonance in our soul body, our thoughts and emotions, put them in coherence with each other. Because when they're in coherence with each other, they're not only in coherence with each other, they're in coherence with the universe. You know, so it's a big wave and a little wave, and they are doing the same thing. It's like dolphins swimming, you know, they swim together. They jump through the water together and they go down together. And that's the way it works. Yeah. It's a fractal universe we live in. As above, so below. Whatever you do, whatever you are experiencing is being fed into the Earth's grids. And it's creating, it's contributing to the Earth's energy. And whatever happens out there is going to come into you. So you have to establish your sovereignty so that you are unaffected by stuff out there and you become sovereign as a soul being. Establish your own sovereignty over your own territory. And what is your territory? Your unique territory that you will own for eternity is your soul. So own your territory, own who you are, and learn how the system works. And it's complex, but it's not complicated. You know, it's a whole system. Anybody have any questions or comments or things you'd like to talk about? Hi, Nikki. Hi, Brian. Nikki, you're muted at the moment, so I can't hear you. I'll unmute you, Selma. You must unmute yourself because I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, all right, all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask, at the moment, there's huge, big energy influx to our bodies. And they are enormous. I mean, I was kicking and jumping about during the night and didn't sleep. There's so much energy. Do you not get that anymore? Have you passed all that?
No.
Because Lisa Transcendence Brown was talking about what we're going through with all these DNA changes and body changes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I still get that. I pick it up. You know, today was what I call a heavy energy day because, you know, normally I walk to the shops and get back and I'm fine. Today I had to walk slowly because I just felt like there was a drag on my head. Yeah, we all experiencing that.
Okay.
What's happening is there are changes happening to us at all those levels, the morphogenetic level, the chemical level, the molecular level, the cellular level. And at the molecular level, our DNA is beginning to change. So we beginning to have more 12-strand potential in our DNA, and we are transforming basically. And it's like you know, a worm who goes into a cocoon and comes out as a butterfly. Now, it takes an enormous amount of energy and intelligence to actually make that happen. And we're going through that. We are like the worm in the cocoon, and we're going to morph into a butterfly. And that's a miracle of energy.
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, we're all going to feel it, and as the energies get higher, and they're going to get a lot higher, you know, I've learned that I don't fight it. I just allow the energy to be there, and I just accept it, and I say it's fine. You know, okay, so I'm tired today, and I don't know why I'm tired, but I can just feel this low energy in my body, so it's fine. You know. It doesn't change my emotions and it doesn't change my thoughts. It just changes my health in my body, my energy in my body. But that's okay, you know, because I don't believe anything's going to be forever, you know. So I'm happy to go through that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Very exciting times, though, Colin.
Amazing, Ryan. It's just amazing because you and I have probably come through the same era, you know, through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I wouldn't want to change anything. It's been the most amazing journey.
No, it was.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I
Yes, and as you, I can say, as you as a performer, we've been through all the great performers as well, haven't we?
Yeah. We had the most amazing.
Yeah, in terms of musicians, I mean.
Yeah. I'm a musician, so I remember the '60s well, and loved that era, and wrote music and played in bands, and quite an amazing kind of era. And then to move through the whole process that we've been going through, it's just been one hell of a journey.
Yes, it has. But it feels peaceful now. Peaceful and exciting. Like a big adventure that is taking off.
Yeah. The wonderful thing, though, Ryan, we should get to understand that we can affect the field. In the past, we were just experiencing it happening to us, but now we know that we have the technology to change what is happening out there. We can change what's out there by changing what's within us.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. And if I look back at from 2006, because 2003 I woke up, but 2006 was when I actually committed myself to this understanding, because I was kind of a little bit not too sure for about 3 years, and I still was partying and drinking and taking drugs and smoking and doing what I did before. But it took me up till 2006 to actually make a commitment to that. And when I made that commitment to understanding this energy and going on this path, my consciousness has changed. But at that time, I remember my higher self, we were talking about it because he asked me to be a grid worker. And I didn't really know what grid working was all about, but I thought, when he explained what it was, is feeding energy into the Earth's grids and changing the angle of rotation of particle spin of the planet, all lovely stuff like that most people would scare the hell out of them. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And I did that work. But he asked me an interesting question. He said, how would you like the world to be in your future? And I said, well, we talked a lot about it and how I would like the world to change and the kind of world I would experience. So he said, if there are two things, what are the two important things you'd like to see happen? And I said, the one is I'd like to see the exposure of the satanic network here, the cults and satanic influence and pedophilia and the whole child and sex trafficking and child sacrifice. I'd like to have that all exposed. And the second thing I said, I'd like to see the people who were responsible for 9/11, I'd like to see them exposed as well. And at that time, I didn't think it was going to be possible. It was just not a possibility in those days, because in 2006, I couldn't find many people who were actually even talking about pedophilia, who were talking about child sex. But now it's commonplace, everyday, conversation. Many people are talking about it. People becoming aware. So we can change the planet through our consciousness, through our desires. What do you want? What is your deepest heartfelt desire for the planet? And we can do it, and we are doing it, actually. If you look at how the planet's changing, it's changing rapidly. And it's all, according to plan, and it's all going according to plan. And it's all happening as it should do, yeah. So we are a lot more powerful than we imagine ourselves to be, yeah. If we just, how about just having a quiet moment of meditation? People say, how do I meditate? Well, I say my life is a meditation. I don't meditate. But sometimes I just like to be quiet and then be with my friends. And what I'd like you to do is just think about it for a minute, what you would like to experience in the planet, and to try to articulate that in the resonance that you want to put out there. So it's whatever it is that you feel you'd like to put out there, and just let that go out. So we're just going to have a few seconds of quiet, and then you just start allowing that frequency, that resonance to go out there into the world to create massive change on the planet. And it's as simple as that. Just one breath, one sound. That's how the universe created this planet. Okay, I'm going to shut my camera off, so maybe we'll just switch our videos off. Have maybe 2 or 3 seconds of quiet, and then just start putting out the sound there.
If I knew how to do it.
Just take a deep breath in and try to feel energy coming from your feet up through your body. Put it up through your body to the top of your head. This is Earth's energy entering your body. And then just slowly release it out with a dark breath. And feel it emptying your body. Pull the breath up from your feet again, up through your legs, hips, abdomen, lungs, neck, head. Hold it at the top of your head. And let it out slowly. Just one more time. Breathe in. And out. And just for a few seconds, breathe out and resonate your own frequency, however you want to do it. Whatever frequency you choose, let it be uniquely you, your expression to the universe, your own desire for the planet. Thanks, folks. That's how to create a standing scalar wave. I've recorded this. If anybody would like me not to post this, if you let me know, then I won't post it. But otherwise, I'll get it posted. And I think I might edit the bit about the emotional part out so I can post it on my Facebook page. So if anybody has objection to that, please let me know. And otherwise, I'll see you next week. Let's see what happens then. Much love to you. Bye, Nikki.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Colin.
Bye, Connie.
Bye, Colin. I'm still there somewhere.
Sorry?
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Stan.
I said thank you.
Bye, Colin. Thank you.
Anyway, where I'm gone now.